Hey everybody, thanks for joining me again. I was hoping to have my thoughts together more precisely before I made the video on the subjects that I want to cover today, but sometimes it's just time. Okay, so bear with me if I digress or if I meander from the subject too much. I'll try to pull myself back, try to make my points clear. Okay, so I've mentioned before that for someone or a narcissist to have their negative effects on you, that they have to have close proximity to you. So it's either a family member, usually a close family member, or someone that you are involved with, like a marriage. Okay, so getting that out of the way, what I'm talking about isn't typically about your blood family, immediate family relations. So we're talking about men and women. For the sake of this discussion, we are going to, we're just going to say it. There's two genders, okay? I know there's some unfortunate people that are confused, or maybe they're not confused, I don't know. Born that way, decisions, I don't know. That's not the subject of what I'm trying to relay here. So for this discussion, there are two genders, men and women, okay? So typically, when a narcissist gets their hooks in you, it's because they've had some time with you. It can't just happen. I guess it can happen overnight, but typically it doesn't. Generally, you have to be, like I said, in close proximity to this person who's done all the damage in your life and caused all the havoc. They have to have access to you. So typically, close relationships are the way this happens. So if you were a man or a woman and you notice a pattern of being involved with narcissists, you're going to start to see the world as narcissistic. Okay, so if you're a woman and you've had several narcissistic relationships, then it starts to look like all men must be narcissists. Okay, and so what is the response to that? Well, many times it's not feminism. Don't get me wrong on this. I know everyone deserves equal rights. If you want to work a 40-hour work week, that's fine. But what I'm talking about is the toxic man-hating feminism. Okay, so that's the response. You can see it, and whether they really express that out loud, sometimes you can see that in their manner, in the way they behave, in the way they interact with people. And on the men's side, if you're a guy and you've been involved with women, and it seems like each one that you were involved with was narcissistic to some degree, it seems that all women must be narcissistic. And so those guys will typically have a response as well. And neither have a response that's very healthy to the opposite gender. So what I'm trying to say is that when you're involved close, it looks like a whole group of people, when maybe it's not. Maybe it's just the group of people that we've been dealing with. Okay, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that no man has ever screwed up my life worse than a woman. It just they haven't been in that position to do so. And if you're a woman, I think you can probably say the same, that no woman close to you has probably screwed up your life more than the guy that you were with. And these aren't just normal patterns that have been happening indefinitely since, forever. These things have been happening maybe even the last 30 or 40 years. I'm gonna squeeze our timeline in here on purpose, because I'll let you know why here in a minute. The reason that things seem to be, they don't seem to be, they are, things seem to be chaotic, because we're dealing with societal narcissism and selfishness that's been encouraged, okay, through, and this sounds conspiratory, but I'm going to say it, through the media and through the powers that be. They know what they're doing. This is engineered, make no mistake about it. So what I aim to do is to get us to focus on something that's not the belligerent nonsense that the narcissist is trying to take away from us, what they've typically done. Okay, so if we can agree that there are two genders, that we each have our role, and it doesn't mean that all women have to be mothers and all men have to be lumberjacks. It just means that we have natural roles and things that work best suited for us. If we can get back to something like that, I think that we can see some of this start to work itself out. The second thing would be maybe start to consider people more than what we have. And I'm not talking about the people that are watching these channels on narcissism and cluster B personality disorders. Typically we've been over backwards, male and female, for the other person, and we've gotten little to nothing out of it, maybe even had some of our lives destroyed by doing that. So I'm not saying that we need to give the narcissist, especially the societal narcissist, even any quarter whatsoever. They need to be dealt with in whichever way you see fit. I know I'm the kind of guy that if you try to take something away from me, I'm not just going to go no contact. You will suffer for it, I promise. I don't put up with that anymore. But that's just how I do things. So anyway, are all men narcissistic and all women narcissistic? And if that was true, how would we have even made it up to today? The last 40 or 50 years have been devastating to the West. It's been just a nightmare. They have, and I do mean they, and you have to look up, they have done a big divide and conquer between us. There's really no reason for us to continue to go through these same issues if everybody's doing what they naturally do. People are always going to have issues, they're always going to have hard times, there's always going to be some form of suffering in families and relationships, but I think we're at an all-time high with this. This has become such a problem that we really need to start looking at solutions. The first solution that I found to curing this problem was realizing that I was actually around cluster B personality disordered people, and that I had to refocus what I was doing and how I was behaving before I started to attract new people. Now, the people that were then 10 years ago aren't even close to the people in the circles of folks that I have around now. It is night and day. I've also talked about this. If you're at your wit's end, if you're at your wit's end and you finally woken up this morning and you realize, man, this person's been destroying my life covertly. I've talked about that too. If you get sideswiped by an overt narcissist, I don't really know what else to tell you. I don't know how to help you, because overt narcissists are overt. You can see them coming. The covert ones are the ones that you're married to. They're the ones that are your mothers and your fathers, and your sisters and brothers and whatnot. So, but the covert narcissist, you wake up and you realize that they've devastated giant swaths of your life. If you're here, then you know that something can be done. There's my first big digression. My point being is that to cure this, or to at least put things in an order that maybe work better, is to realize that we are dealing with the narcissist. And if you're dealing with the narcissist, like we all have, and you see that pattern, realize that that pattern is your pattern. It's the pattern of people that you've been dealing with. Okay. Brings me to a last point here. There's been some discussion about, and I said toxic feminism. You know that I've made a distinction between feminism and equal rights and toxic feminism. You know I've made a distinction between the two. And when someone has been really hurt and abused, maybe they will tend to go over to this toxic form of feminism. The other side of that is men and MGTOW. For the record, I am not MGTOW, but I understand why someone would go MGTOW if this is what they were dealing with, okay? So, the men going their own way, which is the acronym for it, men go MGTOW, men going their own way, is not the same as feminism, okay? This is, and from what I understand, and I know there's a whole lot of, descriptions of what that is, but if you take it at its very basic value as a man going his own way, he doesn't want to have anything to do with women, period. He just doesn't want to. It doesn't mean he's gay. It doesn't mean that, he's a pickup artist and he's going to go, do something to a bunch of women. What I think it means is he's off doing this. He's just done. He's just absolutely just sick and tired of it. And to me, I can kind of see how a lot of guys would do that. Again, for the record, I am not MGTOW. But feminism does not equal MGTOW, okay? You understand? In a way, in a way, both sides, how do I put that? In a way, both sides have a reprieve that the other one doesn't have. Women who are abused have all kinds of, and through all kinds of, even if you just say abuse, by the way, which is something that a man cannot do, basically, well, she abused me, and then the police come, and it doesn't work that way. But women are taken on their word much more often than men. She has all kinds of avenues and things she can go do, and she has places to go, and she has government sponsored and government funded programs for her. Men don't. There's not one. There's not one place that a guy can go. And if you want to talk about divorce court, we can talk about that for a minute too. Upwards of 70 or even more % of women initiate the no-fault divorce in this country. And 80 to 85% end up with primary custody of the kids, and he ends up paying. So I just can't go with saying that feminism and MGTOW are somehow against each other. You can't fault a guy for just saying, you know what, that's too big of a risk for me. I'm not going to take that risk in family court, losing my kids and losing my wife and losing my money, and for 18 more years, God knows, and have to pay. They're just not going to do it. And I actually think it's actually a lot healthier way for people to go, look, I'm just done. You know, I've seen too much and I'm not going to do it anymore. And that is one way to protect yourself. You know, we all don't have to be married. We all don't have to have significant others. So in that respect, and with equal rights now, ladies, you don't either. You can go take care of your own business just the way any man can, with all the way the laws are made. I hope that didn't ramble on too much, that if you're a woman and you've seen a lot of narcissistic men, it's probably from some issues and some lenses that you're seeing the world through. The same with the guys, but feminism and MGTOW, they're not even close to the same. They're not even. They're neither one. Even though they're responses to problems that we're having, societal problems, they're not even anywhere close to each other. So, anyway, you know, I really do hope that helps someone today, because you know, I see a lot of this banter back and forth. I see a lot of hostility, you know, where people get on YouTube and on the internet, and they're bashing each other for, you know, this. They were both suffered from the same bad circumstances. So I really do hope that that sheds some light on why it looks that way when it's really not that way. So, okay, hope that makes some sense. And I hope to see you all again real soon. Thanks.